Everything you need to know about Fantom, the new Sonic, what potential it has, whether it can still grow a lot, like in the previous bull market, or if we won't see the parabolic increases we are waiting for, how much Sonic I have, when I bought it, when I plan to sell it, the history of the entire chain, everything about it, why I think it's a good project. The video, my dear friends, is not sponsored. It is my subjective view of the coin that I simply hold in my wallet, just like many others, and a comparison to other chains. So without further ado, my dear friends, let's begin. And my dear friends, this episode is not meant to persuade you to buy this project or to scare you into selling. This is my subjective view of the project, a technical explanation to help you understand what it's about, to provide you with information on what I think, how I see the charts, how I view the price levels, how much I have, whether I want to sell and when I want to sell. But you have to make the decision on what to do with this project. Do you want to consider it a pile of berries or rather a promise of big profits? So make the decision yourselves. And now I invite you to the video. So listen, at the beginning, we should go through a bit of history, get the basics done. And then we'll move on to the core and, of course, the charts that you're all waiting for. I'll show you exactly how I see it on Fantom. And Sonic Labs is a blockchain project that emerged after the rebranding of the previously known Fantom network, which has been operating since 2018. So, my dear friends, you could say it has already survived one bull market, endured a bear market, and is now in another bull market. And it is a layer 1 compatible with the Ethereum Virtual Machine, or EVM, which means it can support applications and smart contracts built on Ethereum. At the same time, offering much greater performance, or rather significant, you could say, and Sonic Labs focuses on providing scalable and affordable infrastructure for decentralized finance, real-world asset tokenization, or RWA, and support for Web3 developers. It is a truly very versatile project. The network itself offers, 10,000 transactions per second with finality under 1 second, which truly places it among the fastest layer 1 blockchains. I have tested it many times and never in my life had any issues with this network. It never got stuck, nor were funds ever blocked on the chain. However, it is, you could say, the maximum speed that is achieved in specially optimized tests, not during everyday use. So the real speed in Fantom Sonic, that they managed to achieve is 1,600 transactions per second. And of course, in this episode, we won't be talking only about the positives because that's not the point. We will discuss the good aspects, but also the bad aspects of the project. So when it comes to speed, it may seem and be disproportionate, but I'll repeat myself. Blockchain provides the maximum TPS, which is transactions per second, but it doesn't actually operate at that TPS. And it's not just Fantom that does this. Every network, of course, reports its maximum performance. But what the actual performance is, well, you have to look at the documentation. So for comparison, we can take a few of the most popular chains and their maximum TPS as well as the real ones. Let's start with Arbitrum, which was supposed to be an Ethereum killer and the best layer 1. The project itself boasts about its 40,000 transactions per second, which is, of course, 4 times greater than Fantom. However, in reality, a maximum of 380 transactions per second has been recorded in daily use, whereas on Fantom it is 1,600. Solana, my dear friends, with an astounding result of 65,000 transactions per second on paper. Thanks to the proof of history mechanism, but the actual record was set at 1,504 transactions, which is still almost 100 transactions less than Fantom. Polygon, on the network, Ethereum declares the possibility of reaching up to 65,000 transactions per second, similar to Solana. And in real conditions, it achieves 282 transactions. Algorand, which I also strongly support in my portfolio, and I really like this project, increased its theoretical throughput to 10,000 TPS in 2022. Previously, it was 6,000, so almost double, and in practice, it achieves 3,227 transactions per second, which is practically twice as much as Fantom, which also places it on that pedestal among the largest, fastest places, you could say, in the blockchain world. So Algorand wins over Fantom here. Bitcoin, my dear friends, based of course on proof of work, has a very low throughput, with a maximum of about 7 transactions per second. In tests, 10.92 was recorded, tiny. But as we know, Bitcoin is an old-timer. What can you expect from it? Without an upgrade? And finally, our beloved Ethereum, as some call it, after transitioning to proof of stake in 2022, where it was supposed to be a huge improvement, faster, cheaper, etc. The presented Ethereum network achieved a maximum of 100 transactions per second under ideal conditions. However, on a daily basis, these are the results. 1530 transactions, so you could say it's a tragedy. But we discussed speed here. Of course, Fantom is not the fastest network in the world, but it is, you could say, on the podium, it is one of the fastest networks we can find. But let's now move on to costs, because I think this is a very important element. So, of course, we'll start with the hero of today's episode, which is Sonic. Transaction costs average, watch out, from 0.001 to a maximum of $0.001 based on data from the testnet and early mainnet. The exact values, of course, depend on the price of the Sonic token, but these fees are among the lowest on the market. And here, of course, for comparison, my dear friends, Ethereum, the average transaction cost ranges between $0.50 and $0.001 and $5. Of course, everything depends on the traffic on the network, and often it is really very high, so in practice it can even amount to several dozen dollars, where, personally, once when I wanted to transfer some funds on the ERC20 network, it cost me over $160. This really means that Sonic is several hundred times cheaper compared to Ethereum. Bitcoin, listen, even though it is slow, transaction costs average between 50 cents and $20. And of course, everything also depends on the network traffic. Now let's take Solana, which is currently in the spotlight, which is now elevated there. Costs range between $0.00025 and 1 cent. And you could say that it's cheap. However, the problem is that this network is very, very unstable and very often stops transactions, reverses them, or simply blocks them for X amount of time. So, what good is it that you pay relatively little for transactions? Still more than for Fantom, since you might receive the money in a few hours. For example, of course, this is not always the case, but such situations do occur, so it's really like a bank transfer and accounting, which truly destroys the main principles of blockchain, meaning Solana here unfortunately is a mess. But we won't, my dear friends, spend any more time discussing costs, because there's simply a lot of it. You have on the screen at this moment a table with a brief comparison of the different networks and their costs. You can take a look at it. But before, listen, we move on to the chart, let's just talk about developers, because this is a very important element. And you've heard from me many times that Sonic, when it comes into effect, it will attract many developers. And because of that, this project will develop. The project is officially live, so let's talk for a moment about what it really offers. And here, remember that all rebrandings or network upgrades do not mean that capital suddenly comes in immediately, and the price of that particular token will rise. Sometimes it won't rise at all because something just lags, in quotes. And sometimes you'll have to wait for months. And in my opinion, with Fantom, or the new Sonic, that's exactly the case, that we'll have to wait a while for that capital to flow in. But why? Namely, for the creator of the Sonic application, this is a real treat because the network allows for processing up to 10,000 transactions per second with finality under a second. As I mentioned to you earlier, and listen, this opens many doors for building applications that require very high throughput, such as blockchain games or DeFi platforms handling intensive traffic. And this is precisely the premise of the network upgrade, which aims to attract new developers, to build on what is relatively one of the better chains in the network. Moreover, listen, Sonic Labs offers developers up to 90% of the fees generated by their applications and that is much, much more than other networks where profits actually go to validators and are burned. So in such a situation, Sonic, a developer will prefer to build on Sonic rather than another chain because a significant profit from such an application will go directly to them. So I think it's a great opportunity. Additionally, listen, the Sonic Gems program rewards creators with tokens specifically for innovative projects that attract users. And these rewards can be, but don't have to be, shared with the community. Another thing, the Sonic Gateway Bridge connects Sonic with Ethereum. It is, you could say, Sonic as an Ethereum killer, enabling fast and secure liquidity transfers typically every 10 minutes. With the option, of course, to expedite for an additional fee, and in case of a failure, the full safe mechanism allows you to recover funds after 14 days. So I think it's a fantastic situation when someone simply makes a transfer incorrectly, where other networks, let's say, do not offer this. Moreover, the bridge protocol itself is a kind of move, you could say, a marketing strategy specifically for developers using Ethereum, allowing them to transfer their projects precisely to the network, Sonica, in a cheaper and safer way, because it mainly concerns transferring developer elements to the network. Sonic, because now imagine that most things on the internet are built on ETH, So the whole process of moving to Sonica or agreeing to transfer to this Sonica will really take time. Not weeks, but months. And Sonic, of course, it also supports developers through grants, airdrops, like the one from 2024, where 190.5 million AS tokens were distributed, and at its best moment, almost 1 billion zlotys. Let's talk about the DEX now, because Sonic also operates in the world of exchanges. Decentralized ones, offering quite interesting tools and services that could pose a threat to platforms like PumpFun, Uniswap, or Radium. And Sonic Market is, listen, a native, decentralized exchange based on the central limit order book model, not the typical AMM. Simply put, it means that it uses advanced lobster technology for fast and efficient order matching. And most importantly, thanks to this, traders, which directly concerns us, can use limit and market orders, and everything is precisely transparent and recorded directly. On-chain, this facilitates, one could say, integrations with other DeFi protocols such as lending or liquidity aggregators in which Fantom truly specializes. And Supersonic Listen is, for example, a more advanced DeFi hub, also based on algebra finance, which offers the possibility of leveraging attention 1000x, as well as optimal swaps, of course, creating new tokens, launchpads, and configuring liquidity with dynamic fees and limits, meaning on this Sonic, you can really do incredible things with very simple operation. Moreover, on Sonic, there is also, listen, RWA, which stands for real-world asset, because generally the capabilities of Sonic Labs go beyond support for developers and DEXs. The network allows for the tokenization of real assets such as real estate, works of art, using the Sonic Getaway. Plans include extending the bridge to other blockchains beyond just Ethereum, which increases liquidity and the popularity of Sonic. And I think this will be a very strong element in the coming months. But soon we will also talk about the drawbacks of Sonic. However, continuing on, speaking of the developers, the creators of Sonic Labs largely come from the team behind Fantom, which means they have years of experience working together. And one of the leading figures in this team is Andrei Kronje, the co-founder of Sonic Labs, in my opinion a genius, known in the cryptocurrency world as one of the most influential DeFi developers. What hasn't he touched? Whenever he produced or created something, it always achieved success. Moreover, Kronje was previously the mastermind behind Fantom and the creator of protocols such as Yearn Finance, which I used quite a lot. He is now regarded as a legend in the DeFi circles, and the projects he has created so far enjoy immense community dedication and continue to operate. And of course, Sonic Labs is led by Michael Kong, who serves as the CEO. Kong manages the project from an operational and communication standpoint. His statements indicate a strong focus on the community and the ecosystem itself. Why the rebranding? Why couldn't they remain as Fantom and avoid messing up the entire marketing situation? Because I believe that Fantom really messed up the marketing aspect, a lot of money. As a result, it lost out because at the same time, a Bitcoin named Sonic was released. It was a problem because many people wanted to buy SUSDT, which is the old Fantom, but they ended up buying Sonic. So there was a big blunder and a very large dump, which really shouldn't have been that significant. And the main reason, listen, for such a rebranding was the desire to introduce Sonic as a new Layer 1 network, which was supposed to be simply faster, more scalable, and interoperable compared to the existing Fantom Opera network. In my opinion, it wasn't necessary, it should have been left as it was, and just done in the style of Fantom 2.0. Well, but that was their idea. So it seems to me that it could also have been a rebranding for a refresh. A bit of a project creating somewhat of a new competition for Algorand and Solana. We'll see. Time will tell. What happens there? Moreover, a lot of people, listen, were also throwing Fantom into the category of dinosaurs, saying it wouldn't rise again, so maybe they also wanted to simply refresh their image. So it seems to me that this kind of division was simply aimed at increasing transparency for the community, including token holders, validators, developers primarily, and facilitating, one might say, the expansion of this ecosystem. To summarize this part, one could say Fantom transitioned to Sonic to introduce technological improvements, refresh its image, increase transparency, and primarily attract new users. So it wasn't just, one might say, a change, but it was a strategic step for the project, which was meant to directly enhance this project. More competitive, Moreover, looking at the statistics of this project, you can see it on the screen right now. It can be observed that the TVL, or total value locked, increased by $26.8 million to $406 million, so this shows a huge influx of liquidity in just 2 months. For comparison, Fantom in 2022 had a TVL of $10 billion at its peak, so there is something to surpass, but that's the downside because that TVL from Fantom dropped significantly. At its peak it fell, so at this moment, Sonic has quite a challenge ahead to keep increasing that TVL. If it doesn't do this, it won't be a good sign for the project. My dear friends, the number of transactions jumped from 5 million to 25 million. Overall, it truly reflects the growing popularity of this network and the fact that this coin is not a dead coin, and the average daily number of transactions has stabilized at 300,000 active addresses because this is very important. The number of Fantom users, that is Sonic, has currently increased 15-fold, which indicates mass adoption. Transaction fees, listen, a 6-fold increase in generated fees while maintaining low unit costs highlights the scale of usage of this network. Token price, and here we will smoothly transition to the charts, is in my opinion very stable. Of course, it has its declines, it has its rises, it has quite a lot of volatility on the chart. However, in critical moments, Fantom, Sonic, holds up really relatively very well. Compared to other projects, you could say, competitive ones, here the market capitalization, of course, a slight increase, only 10-15%, and this is mainly due to the price fluctuations. Sonic with a constant circulating supply, 288 billion tokens. And now, my dear friends, let's move on to the charts and what exactly I see on this token. And here, listen, we have such a chart. Very nice, because it's a chart on Finance US, which shows us how the situation looks. And here, listen, we can't look at this chart from the perspective that it's dead. Of course, many coins struggle with this, so to speak, bottom walking. However, Fantom actually has some volume increase here. Here, something is happening with this token compared to others. Of course, Bitcoin is now in a very weak position due to what's happening with Bitcoin. However, on Fantom, after breaking the all-time low, we are still consistently breaking new highs and increasingly higher lows, so to speak, so this is a relatively good situation for this project. For now, we are actually holding in a pretty decent place. For us, the most important thing is to stay here at 0.786, which is around 65 cents. The critical point is 54 cents. If we break through that, the situation on Fantom will not look good over time. As for my bugs, I hold over 1 million units of Fantom currently being accumulated since 2020. Of course, the capital on Fantom for me was constantly being rolled over. It's not that I held onto these tokens the whole time. Instead, I bought them cheap, sold them high, repurchased, resold, and kept doing that all the time. At this moment, my average purchase price for Fantom is around 21 cents, so really at this point, around 350% of Fantom I have achieved. I have it, but I hold it, I don't sell. The levels at which I will want to sell. These are levels around $1.10 as one selling batch, the next batch around 1.67, and then I will, of course, keep you updated on Discord about when I will want to sell. However, my dear friends, if the market situation becomes critical or catastrophic, meaning Bitcoin starts breaking below $73,000, $71,000, which for me will be a sign of a bear market, then I will liquidate my holdings entirely regardless of the situation with altcoins. I will sell, securing part of my profit and simply waiting for the next opportunities. Cheap ones, where I can simply buy back such a Fantom. My dear friends, one piece of advice I can give you is definitely not to fall in love with a token you like. Just like I like the Fantom, but I'm not in love with it because that could lead me to bankruptcy, so it's better to look at these things realistically. Remember that Bitcoin will always be the king, and it will always be safest to buy Bitcoin, hold it, keep it, and sell it at a high price. I won't be selling you any philosophy on this topic because it's obvious. When it comes to altcoins, my dear friends, the situation is different. Of course, Fantom is a project that performs excellently and holds up very well. However, with altcoins, you must remember one thing. You earn, you sell. Altcoins are totally unpredictable and not as safe as Bitcoin. So in such a situation, if, for example, you achieve a 100% increase, take out your initial investment and leave the rest for free. Roll with that capital because you know that altcoins can grow several times over, but they can also drop to zero overnight. So remember to quickly take profits in this type of projects. In my opinion, if we consider that alt season is still coming, then Fantom will achieve really good results. I think it could manage to jump above $2 if funds from developers actually start flowing in because they will want to build projects on Fantom. which will attract money, as new projects will be bought by new investors, where the money will indirectly and directly flow into Sonic's market cap. So, of course, I see the future of this project in rather colorful terms, and not in black and white. However, I take into account that anything can happen in this market, and my spot positions, I simply have them secured. In case of emergency, I will just sell them. However, my dear friends, if the bull market doesn't continue, if there is no alt season, I won't be surprised if Fantom returns to hitting its low around 20 cents, so be careful, because there are no perfect ideal projects. So, my dear friends, that's all. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to let me know if you want more episodes like this about other projects, so write in the comments if yes, and if so, which projects. I will prepare such a series for you, and if it proves successful, if there is approval from your side, then such a series will be created. In the meantime, subscribe, hit the bell, and give a thumbs up so you don't miss future episodes. And we'll hear each other on Monday for the market update. Take care for now. See you.